Welcome. Susan St. Ors, the mayor of Bayport, is with us today. Welcome.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
It's been a while since I've seen you, and this is not a forum style. It's more get to know your mayor of Bayport.
Thank you.
Better, in more ways than maybe you even knew about her. I saw another St. Ors related to you.
Yes, definitely. My husband, Phil St. Ors, is
And
running for school board.
He is running for school board,
Yeah.
4-year term. He did a stellar job at my forum last week. What made him interested in education?
He has been passionate about education, as passionate as I am about being mayor for years. He's been involved in several different organizations, has a real desire to give back and apply his skills.
So did you have when he came to you and said, I want to run for school board, okay, you're mayor, did you have any oh, no, Phil, one St. Ors is enough?
Oh, no. His skill set would really be a benefit to the district, and they could use his help.
Tell me how you met him.
We met about almost 25 years ago at a wireless mobile data company, and as crazy as this sounds, he was actually leading a project of mining on the moon for one of our clients, and I was in marketing. We worked overlap of about 6 months, and then we went our separate ways and reconnected several years later, and we've now lived in Bayport for 20 years.
Did you watch his forum, and is he going to watch your interview?
I definitely watched the forum, and I imagine that he'll be watching.
Good moderator feedback, interviewer feedback. That's great. Why are you running again?
I've been mayor for 10 years now. This is my 6th election, and it has been a phenomenal experience. Not only have I learned about the community and gotten to know our community members and be able to represent their needs, but also the public service side with our staff, our fire, police, public works, and working with other communities and other government agencies side by side. It's been a phenomenal experience, and it's a chance for me to bring my expertise from being a senior director at a $28 billion software company to and apply it in another way. So it has been a delightful experience, a true honor to have their trust and be able to represent them for this time. And I'm looking forward to another 2 years.
And you met your husband at this company, is that right, or at another company?
No, we've met 24 or so years ago with a 6-month overlap. And then 2 years passed after we both ended up leaving that company and ended up getting reacquainted and have now been living in Bayport for 20 years.
And do you have any children?
I do have a stepdaughter who is in her late 20s, and so we are empty nesters currently.
When you went to Bayport, okay, where were you from?
I'm originally from southern Minnesota, Mapleton, from a farming community, and grew up on a farm. And when I moved to the Twin Cities, it was primarily in the Woodbury area, and then on to Bayport.
And the St. Ors name goes far back, right?
Yes,
in the St. Croix Valley or in Bayport only?
No, in the St. Croix Valley. So, but 120 years. So
wow.
I joined a wonderful family.
Right. So it must have been fun to, it wasn't like you moved up and ooh, wow, where do I begin to meet people? Well, you already had people who were there waiting for you, which would have been fun.
That is, they're a phenomenal group. I'm very, very lucky to have joined their family, but also getting to know people in Bayport I started out with the foundation for the Bayport Public Library and then expanded by running for mayor. And then since then, I currently am on the Greater Stillwater Area Chamber of Commerce as a Board of Directors member, as well as the Fire Advisory with West Lakeland, Baytown Township, and Oak Park Heights. And I've played roles with the Watershed Management Organization, the Anderson Community Committee, and others. So it's been a great experience.
And others is right, because I know of others that you have, and you've been extremely active in that. What originally drew you to say, hey, I think I want to be mayor? And you didn't go through the council, and so many people want to go, first they take the council or the state rep, and then they move up. Mm-hmm. But you went right for mayor.
I did, because I'm kind of an all-in kind of person. And my platform has remained the exact same for the entire 10 years. When I was looking at the council that was sitting in place, and lots of talented folks there, but I was like, there are things that we could do better. We can reduce our taxes. We can maintain our financial stability. My first year as being mayor, I asked the staff to reduce the budget by 10%. It was just like, I think that there's more that we could do there to protect our taxpayers. Second was increasing communications. I'm a marketing director, senior director. And so that's very, very important to me. And I don't like surprises, and I don't think the taxpayers do either. So I wanted to increase our communications, which I have. We've increased our newsletter. We've added an e-newsletter. We're redoing our website currently. I've hosted many more open houses and so it's a passion of mine. I've even gone door to door in a snowstorm to make sure that people knew what was going on with a vote that I thought could have taken a little bit more time. So communication. And then finally, preserving the culture of Bayport. The safety of our public services with our fire department, which is phenomenal, our full-time police department, and then maintaining our parks with our public works, adding beautification to define our downtown corridor, and then having a staff that's really customer service oriented. So I thought my skill set as a corporate participant would be really applicable and would help Bayport, and that's why I ran.
And when you won 10 years ago, was it exciting?
Oh, of course. I think it was with over 60% of the vote.
Yeah,
it
was substantial.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So, yeah, but there's still that same excitement of going and representing the people. It's their confidence. It's their vote. They put the trust in me. And I think that we've done some great things together of easing some of the, we've had a great reputation of being a very collaborative city and working well together with other communities and among ourselves. And I think that people have appreciated my leadership in that manner.
When you've seen, when you run into people and and the thing with Bayport is, of course, so many families, much like your husband, the St. Orr's family, there's a lot of connected families there.
There are.
And there's something neat about that. Does he have a nickname too? Was he born?
No. No, we're not from Bayport, but in the area. So, but along with the connections and the family orientation, we're also welcoming so many new families with our inspiration development. I mean, it's really nice to see us grow and evolve and have the historical families still with, as part of our tradition, but also bringing in new ideas and new families to the area.
Since you moved here, not just as mayor, moved to Bayport, what are the biggest changes that you've seen that have just been, wow, for a community relatively small?
Right. Well, the bridge has had a big impact because we do have more traffic. So we've just finished our 95 project, which is designed with some extra safety measures because as people travel through, it's great that they're seeing more of our city and seeing it as the nice community it is to come to, but also they sometimes travel a little bit too fast. So we put in some safety measures there, and we're continuing to look at that all the time. Anderson has expanded twice.
You're lucky on that, aren't
we are
you?
so lucky.
Oh my gosh, if that revenue for the city left, but just to have the expansion is a positive thing.
It's wonderful. They're a great partner. The bank has celebrated 100 years in Bayport, and they've chosen to expand and beautify their building and facilities and strengthen their presence in Bayport as well. So inspiration being built out is a very large
For those
difference.
who are not familiar, I am, but for those who are not, will you explain inspiration?
Sure. Inspiration is a relatively new development for Bayport. It's up on Stagecoach Trail across from the St. Croix Prep, and it is it had a blank slate. And so bringing in developers and working with them and welcoming, we're almost built out. So that's 200-300 homes that we welcome to the city. So yeah, there's been some really fabulous changes, and then there's some things that are just nice and stable. Our churches, the school, and so the traditions that are there as well.
You mentioned the word stable, and right away I went back. And my first forum I ever did, early 90s, was in Bayport. I got to tell you, that was a kind of a city in flux, let's put it politically. And I remember over the years, it has now really settled down. I mean, I have to give you a lot of credit for that. You know, it was really, you know, you have different people coming in and coming out to run, and it just felt like, okay, it's just like, you know, even though I don't get paid, but job security as a forum moderator, you know, I mean, there was going to be, and then it didn't happen. Then no one would run. And I assumed, and do you agree, as a resident mayor, that people were happy with what was happening?
I would think so, and I would hope so. I ran, of course, against a sitting council member when my first term. I had 3 terms then that I was unopposed, and still had very, very high votes of confidence at the polls, where they can choose to not vote for you even if you're running unopposed. Last election, I did have an opponent, and so, but I feel like the confidence is there in the votes, and everyone deserves to be heard. I promise that I will always look into different issues. I'll try to see them from every single point of view, and you know, sometimes as a mayor, you disappoint some, because you can't fulfill everyone's desires. But they'll always have an honest answer from me, and they'll always have my dedication to go in and really look at it from every single point of view. I don't have any pet projects, and I don't, you know, I truly want to make sure that I'm making good, sound decisions.
During your and another thing too, on the media, when I do the forums, oh my gosh, I knew people were watching at home. I knew they were in the audience, but that just went away. And so I had to take it as a moderator as, okay, there's no reason to kind of show the feistiness of being there, of attending one of my forums, and that, you know, they were okay with that. It was more of an information sharing. And do you remember my first forum when I did it with you?
Of course.
And then over the time, I mean, it was just, you became even more comfortable, and it was just, the wins help, of course. The wins help. Were you surprised to get a write-in candidate against you on who sits on the council, Michelle Hansen?
Not as surprised as people might think, but I'm going to leave that to the voters to decide and to evaluate. So.
Yeah, but then I am going to ask you, though, why are you much more qualified, beside the fact that you've been in as mayor 10 years?
Well, I think, again, the corporate experience that I bring to the table is unparalleled. I mean, I work for 23 years now for a $28 billion company. To have gone through all of the different changes that have evolved in the technology world and have been retained and promoted repeatedly is a very strong background to have and leverage on for a council. So that differentiates me right there in that kind of qualification. I think my personality also is one of inclusiveness. I really do listen and represent everyone. For instance, there's a couple of different things. We had a very controversial dog park, if you can believe it. Sounds like a very easy thing to do, but people were opposed. I wanted to know why. I'm a pet owner, but I don't frequent dog parks. When I went and looked at where that dog park entry would be, and people would be getting out of their cars with their pets on people's lawns, I'm like, no, this isn't right for us. Short-term rentals was brought forward by members of our current council, and it took me a year and a half to get comfortable with not only allowing and promoting rentals within homes for the homeowner who benefits from that, right? They rent their home, they profit. But the neighbors around that property, what would the impact be to them? Their safety, their security, their privacy, their home. So until there was meat in that short-term rental ordinance, I could not bring myself to sign it. It still has, I'm still not probably as comfortable with it, but I think we came to a conclusion that is more beneficial for everyone. When you look at the topic of assessments are hard. No one likes them. We had one when we first moved in, very significant to our property, but necessary. So when you look at that, and Bayport has a 50-50 split. Stillwater has 70-30. 70% is paid for the individual property owner, 30% by the city. Ours is 50-50. And we have a progressive tax policy right now. So half of it is being paid by taxpayers, half of it by the individual property owner. If that's ever changed, what happens to the people in the last 30 years that already paid? Is it fair for them to pay more? How about the people in Inspiration that just moved in and they just paid for all their roads, sidewalks, and city's water and sewer themselves? Now the developer paid for it, but you can bet that that's factored into their land costs and their home. Mm-hmm. Look at Point Road. They don't have any city water, sewer, or sidewalks out by Anderson Corporation. Now they're, again, in that progressive tax base. Should they then be asked to pay even more for someone else's individual property? So assessments are hard. They're always going to be hard. But city water and sewer does add value to a home. So it's weighing all of those different factors in and what's best for everyone in the community versus any individual homeowner. So those are some examples of how I think that my approach might make me a more qualified candidate.
Tell me, what are your proudest accomplishments as mayor?
The first and foremost is probably our fire hall. Our firefighters just celebrated, just a month ago, 132 years of volunteer firefighting. Our old building was antiquated and not capable of holding all the larger equipment that's necessary. And we service 4 communities, not just Bayport, West Lakeland, Baytown, and Oak Park Heights. So there was a need for that fire hall, as well as it's nice to be able to reward our firefighters with a nice place to work. Now, we did a land transfer. I went to the state capitol and testified in front of the Senate and House committees, and we did a land transfer for zero cost to the city from the state to the city. That took off a lot of costs overall for the overall taxpayers, for our community and others.
Do the people know about that?
I'm not quite sure, but I hope to remind them right now that was a nice feat. Worked with, Karen Housley, Kathy Lomer, the DOC. It was just a phenomenal multi-governmental agency collaboration. Then we went on to design and build the fire hall. It came in on time and on budget. So then once again, my corporate background of running large projects, multicultural, multifunctional teams of 60 plus people. I've managed budgets up to $5 million for the company. I'm entrusted. And so I bring that skill set, and bringing in any project on time, on budget is pretty phenomenal and rare. And we did that with the Bayport Fire Hall. So that is probably something that I can point out that will live with me forever. But also the other things of working with Anderson Corporation, working with the bank, welcoming new businesses to Bayport, seeing Inspiration expand, and listening to the various concerns of the folks from Inspiration. We turned down multiple proposals for what now is the Landucci development. Is it still exactly what the residents that live on the perimeter of that property would have liked? Maybe not. But I'm still dedicated to making sure that contract and what we did land on is actually 100% fulfilled by the developer. There are trees right now that are not the height that people were anticipating. We will make that right. And so, just making sure that people are heard, making sure that there's follow through, making sure that they know that they can contact me and I will take action and get back to them. Whether it's always an answer people want or don't want, they're going to get the truth from me.
Susan, as I recall, and I'm trying to go back several years, you travel a lot for your work.
I used to.
You used to?
Yes.
What was that like? I mean, walk me through a day of when that happened. Oh my gosh. So you're balancing family, you're balancing the city, you're balancing work. I mean,
well, COVID has certainly played a role in that.
That for sure. That's for sure.
And I work from home and have since Y2K. So that is a nice balance. And that was one of the reasons I got involved with the Library Foundation in the first place, is to start really connecting with the community in which I live. Over the course of the 23 years that I've worked for SAP, I traveled the United States over and over repeatedly. I commuted to Philadelphia for 2 years, every other week, Monday through Thursday. After that, I did a lot of international travel. I've spent 2 weeks in Singapore as an immersion and liaison representing my department to
Beautiful country, isn't
yes,
it? I
gorgeous,
love it.
and nice people everywhere. I was selected, a very, probably one of the highlights of my career is I was selected to go to Ghana for a month in a social sabbatical program. This is an elite honor within the company. And they take 12 people from around the world of SAP, all different disciplines, accounting, marketing, finance, customer service. We were transported into Ghana to live among each other. And then we were assigned to nonprofits that we worked with for that month to design and develop and address a business challenge that they had. So in that experience, I learned how fortunate we are. You know, when I look at our city water and sewer and how lucky we are to live in such a wonderful country, in a wonderful city where things are so well maintained. And then to learn more about not only myself in that instance, but about different cultures. And every little small town has different cultures. And it's important to recognize that and to represent all of them.
So were you, just so I get, during the 10 years of mayor, were you also traveling a lot during that time, or had that settled down, you were more able to work
There was
home?
international travel, and my trip to Ghana was during my tenure as
What
well.
was that like to balance? I mean,
People ask me at SAP how I do this, what are basically two jobs at the same time. You know, they complement one another. I'm a very organized person, and I'm very much a communicator. So staying on top wherever I am is always important. I'm always in communication with the city administrator and understand what the pulse is of what's happening. Travel has been reduced just overall, not just because of COVID, but because now we have Zoom and technologies where you don't need to travel as much. So that isn't as much of a factor now. I am here and present and you know, ready to continue.
how do you contact, or how are you in contact with your constituents? What ways?
Anyone knows that they can call City Hall and I will call them back, or their emails. They are answered and addressed promptly. I am out in the community, maybe not always so, you know, I'm more of a low-key person, but I'm very observant, and I am present out in our restaurants and our businesses.
Do they treat you special? I was wondering.
Well, they're nice to everyone. And I would not want them to treat me any differently. But honestly, I don't think anyone could complain about any way that they're treated when they come to Bayport. Our businesses are and services are phenomenal.
One thing that is always, I'm not sure, kind of frustrating, the 2-year term. Doesn't that bother you? I mean, from the minute you're done, it's like, okay, I'll be running in 2 years. Your council members are 4-year terms. I mean, there are other cities in that same situation. Can that be changed, or why
It
isn't
could be
it?
changed.
Okay.
I'm sure it could. But I feel that I've earned the vote every 2 years. And isn't that phenomenal?
Well, it's an accountability. Yeah.
It is. And when you are reelected, you know that you're doing what the people want. To have a leader in place for a longer period of time, yes, it does take you a bit of time to ramp up that first couple of years. But after that, I think that there is an accountability that is probably okay. And if there is someone that wasn't fulfilling the requirements or the wishes of the community, then they would have the opportunity to replace them.
Any interest in higher office?
I have been asked on multiple occasions. My interest really is at this local level. So I've evaluated those opportunities, and I think that I can best serve here.
Flattering, for sure.
It is. It's very nice.
Absolutely. Tell me about the pandemic. Okay, so here you are, head of the city, running the city, and this happens, and it goes on and on and on. It's like, what were you had to have been concerned. You know, you had to have been concerned with Anderson's,
Yes.
especially.
Well, Anderson and all of our businesses. I mean,
All of them, right?
Yeah, and Anderson has amazing protocols in place. And so, of course, we were in touch with them immediately, but so much confidence in their professionalism and the way that they manage. So, but our local businesses have been hit hard. So we tried to relax as many things as we could, the signage, the seating, accommodating them with extra seating outside, encouraging people to still frequent, even if it was, through pickup. Everyone, it's infected everyone. Bayport is no different, but we on top of it, we had the 95 project, which was also an inconvenience, although necessary. It's looking beautiful now. I'm very pleased to have driven through this morning. The school being impacted, neighbors. It's been a hard year. Of course, then there's the increased anxiety and tension in Minneapolis-St. Paul. And the constant worry that I have on weekends and nights of what's happening with our firefighters, what's happening with our SWAT and police departments, in touch with our city administrator on a constant basis of what the pulse is, where things, is anything coming our way, will we need to be sending people in? So it has been a trying time, but remaining calm, making sure that everyone is cared for and understanding what their needs are as far as, has been important. And just continuing to keep it flowing as well as I can is what I've tried to do.
I like your idea in that two year. Look, either I've done right by you or I leave. And what do you hope to accomplish in the next 2 years?
Well, there are a couple of things that we're always going to have infrastructure projects to address, always. And so that's where that assessment policy and is important to me, as well as making sure that our city is well maintained. The Land and Water Legacy Park will be continuing to be developed. That's that new property next to Anderson, as well as there's more. There's always more that's on the horizon, but maintaining the financial stability is going to be is always top of mind for me. We have great savings. I have been very adamant about protecting those savings because they've earned us a AAA rating, which lowers our interest rates if and when we should ever need to borrow against that. So, maintaining the services that we deliver at a high quality to the public, as well as protecting and keeping taxes as low as I possibly can so that people can make individual choices on how they want to spend their money, is probably the most important. So that's what I take into consideration with any project or anything that's coming our way.
Is there anything we haven't covered that you want the voters to know? Any aspect of your life, your view on the city, your leadership as mayor, anything, Susan?
Well, one, I would appreciate their vote once again and their confidence. So I do hope that they'll, continue to support and vote for me. But two, I'd like to leave a message. There's so much diversity, or diversiveness, and
divisiveness.
Divisiveness in society. Sure. And Bayport is a lovely, lovely community. And I just want to make sure that everybody remembers to, or keeps in mind working together, being collaborative, helping out their neighbors, looking out, speaking positively of one another, being patient. COVID has tried our patience. Not being quick to judge. That's what makes Bayport special, is that sense of community. And I want to continue to represent. I want to continue to be entrusted with their finances and their services, and I want to be a positive, professional representation of the city.
Thanks for coming. Pleasure to see you.
Thank you very much.